I've been to Russia, but not for a long time. I haven't been to Mexico or that part of the world. Basically just traveling around, going to so many different venues. We just came from Melbourne. We had a big festival in Melbourne last Sunday, a couple of days ago, called Rathayatra, a big, really big festival. Maybe, I don't know how many members of Hare Krishna were there, but a lot. And we have this festival through the street. We pull this big chariot, and for hours on the street we're dancing and singing. It was spontaneous, it happens automatic. Just like tonight, you're sitting very internally, meditating, hearing the sound, absorbing it into your consciousness, feeling the presence, whether you know it or not, you're feeling the presence of the divine person. There's presence in this world in the form of sound. We tend to see things with our eyes, but spiritually speaking, we don't depend upon the material eyes. They are also there, but the main form of, let's say, of seeing, internal seeing, is through the sound vibration, which is very powerful. It goes deep within our consciousness if we allow it, and awakens our inner consciousness, our inner awareness. There's another me besides the one that we identify with in terms of this physical body, or this subtle mind. There's another aspect to the self, which all of you are practicing some form of yoga or have done. I would imagine, at least know what it is if you're not one of the regulars here. That's the intention of yoga. It's the physical aspect of it, and you've experienced that. It does also have its effect on the subtle aspect of bringing calmness and balance in your mind and your subtle body and so on, like that you feel much purer in life. And that's one of the aspects of any form of yoga. As you know, there are many types of yoga named differently, but they all ultimately have the same purpose. The purpose is not just to improve, so to speak, our existence in this world. That may be, no doubt, a cause or inspiration and something which inspires us to take up a particular activity, some goal which we can relate with. But there's a deeper aspect to it, and especially the type of yoga which we emphasize. And as you can see, we don't just practice this bhakti, we call bhakti yoga, yoga of devotion, but it includes other aspects of yoga, just like knowledge, usually jnana yoga, the study of understanding things with one's intelligent analysis, and taking different ancient philosophy and statements and trying to understand them in our present context, etc. That's also there. It's like a subsection, you could say. You practice many hatha yoga, is that right, Chaitanya? What do you call your yoga? But you have a special name for it? It's not Atma yoga or something. Just yoga.
Yeah, it's called prana moves.
Huh?
The school is called prana moves.
Prana moves.
But yeah.
Prana moves. Life airs. That's another aspect of yoga, of course. Kind of not fully understood maybe in its subtle form, but gross form. Everyone understands that there's a life force within, and there's life airs in the stomach and the chest and the different parts of the body and the brain, different areas in the void and the throat, different parts of the body which are obviously, you could say, different types of chakras, this, that, the other in the body. So the process of yoga also is to balance the various chakras and to bring the life airs into moving in the right way and so on. Many different things could be there. You know more about it than I probably. So hatha yoga also is for that. But there's a deeper aspect, not just to make the subtle and gross bodies more, let's say, workable, less disturbing, and on the mental platform, so that we become free of anxiety, that we can relate better to other people around us, and we're happier within, and so on. But to actually go deeper and deeper within our own consciousness, to the very core of our very self. So that's the yoga, in definition, is basically to link in fact, the word in English, there's a word in English, you may have known this, but perhaps some of you have seen, maybe not directly experienced, but people plowing the fields with bulls. Have you seen that? Not many do it now in Australia. It was the common practice some time back. It still goes on in many countries. Maybe I don't know about Mexico, but you see many Asian countries still they're plowing with buffaloes or bulls or something like that. Cows in Bali, different places they plow with animals, horses sometimes, like that. And they have the yoke. They connect to the plow, you know, that thing is called a yoke or something like that. And it actually, same meaning, means to link, to connect. Yoga means to connect ourselves with the divine person. We're all persons, each and every one of us in this room, yet our physical bodies, you may understand, are related to us and not exactly us. We're conscious within these bodies, we're living in these bodies, but nonetheless each body everybody is different. Even your twin brother or sister or whatever it is, there's differences still there. And certainly there's difference in the individual personality within. We all have our own individual, wonderful thing. And yoga is also to find that unity. Although some people think the unity means everything merges into a oneness, conscious oneness, without any variation or any... Can you hear me? I mean, I've got a microphone here. That might make it easier. Can you hear me better now? Very working very well. Next. Take it to my nose. This is a very good mic you have here. Something's missing, isn't it? Anyway, I tried to speak. I'd say I overexerted the last few weeks, but I'll try to speak a little louder so you can hear. Can you hear at the back?
Yes.
Yes.
You're sure? Because you won't hear me, and you won't say anything if you can't hear what I'm saying. I think you can. I heard a yes. It looked like it was from the back. Anyway, this yoga is not just to understand. There is a unity. There is a common unity between all of us. And we're all equal. We know. Anyone with any, let's say, sincere understanding or a little bit of understanding of life beyond matter understands that in reality, it's interesting because materially people also talk about it. I'm not saying everyone wants it, but they talk about equality amongst man, equality amongst living entities, and so on. And that is because it is actually a fact that spiritually we're all equal. We may have temporarily different bodies with their different capacity and colours and genders and you name it, whatever. And on the subtle platform are different perspectives of life, and we take up different, things, identify with different things, even religions and so on. They're only meant to help us to realize the actual unity within all of us, the spiritual unity, which will really solve the problem. Without that spiritual understanding, no amount of so-called imposition, be it philosophy, be it politics, be it religion, be it philanthropy, be it what it may, humanitarianism, will not actually bring the ultimate result. It will be temporary. Amongst those who abide by it, maybe some form of temporary kind of unity is there, or whatever, peace or whatever. But that only lasts a little while, and it's only limited to a certain area. What about the animals? What about the birds? What about the trees? What about people who weren't born in your group or don't want to be in your group? What about all the other people who were born before we were born or be born after we were born? It doesn't necessarily, it's not very broad-minded perspective. But if it helps us to come to a broad-minded perspective, then jolly well and good. But otherwise it's not really, it's just rooting us in yet another identity which keeps us away from our real spiritual existence. So yoga, and it's a word which of course become popular now, because it was like almost like a swear word when I was a child. Literally, anything from outside of England when I was born was made. Any of you born in England, made in England? Anyone made in England? Oh, you're young. Now I understand everything. Now I understand.
That's good. The secret.
Which part of England were you made in?
Oldham.
Oldham, my God, we understand more than everything now. I told them Oldham, they have a saying. Oldham, my word, that's really the root, almost the root of modern civilization, right? Oldham, the Industrial Revolution, almost, not quite, it started in another place, but then it moved to that part of the world, right there, where Anthony, you may know him as Anthony Brennan, the famous photographer.
That's good. The secret as well.
Oh, I'm not supposed to say that, am I? Okay. Don't tell my secrets where I'm from. I'm from Oldham. I'm from Pig Hill. That's the name of the town I was born in England. Pig Hill. Very holy place in England. There was a pig market on the hill, and all around pig farms were there. And my grandfather was a pig. He was a big butcher in the town. He was probably the richest butcher in town, actually. And we used to work. I worked in a pig factory for a while there. Not for long. My whole body went septic after about a month living there. I had to give it up. It was the mercy of the Lord, I would say, in a sense. Couldn't do it. But anyway, that was the history of that place. Anyway, whatever it is, they're external. So yoga is to help us to go beyond all these temporary designations and realize that which is our real self, and to understand the real unity between all of us, and to even go further, to understand the source of that existence and where the ultimate platform of unity is, in connection, as yoga means to connect up. So not just to have knowledge of our spiritual existence, but knowledge of what in spirituality, what is our actual business. Just like now, not using the word business like we may use the word business in our day-to-day life. What is our actual, engagement? So in this material world, we all have different engagements according to our different karmic conditionings. And I said yoga, karma, even vegetarianism was like a dirty word when I was a child. Dirty word. When I became a vegetarian, I think it was 1968. I think it was that. We were in college, and I think first year at college, I think I became a vegetarian, and it was like almost like fate worse than death to my parents. They couldn't believe it. What is this? Unbelievable. I was probably the only vegetarian in the whole town. Probably. Maybe somebody for health reasons, I don't know. I've never heard of one. It was unheard of. It was really weird. And the word yoga had yet to be manifested. Something foreign, something taboo. So that was, and then karma and these things. But now yoga is used for many reasons. Guru is used for many reasons. Computer guru, sailing guru, eating guru. Guru, they put on everything, isn't it? Driving guru. You name it. But it has a deep meaning, guru. It's one who understands the actual truth in its fullness, not just partial truths, relative truth only, but the truth behind everything, which includes everything also. Because everything comes from that original source, both personal and impersonal. As we're persons, we have our personal existence. We have we can say our impersonal existence too, in terms of, the extension of our energies and influences and so on. But we're also individual persons, so the Absolute also has a personal existence, or a personal presence too. So to connect with the personal nature, the personal aspect of the truth, it is also, just like we have names, And their names may be given to us, we may have adopted names, or whatever it is. They may be descriptive names sometimes. I remember in Vienna a few years ago, I asked one young man what his name was. He said his name was Peanut. Peanut. Now, I don't know if that was a description of his nature or not, but he got the name Peanut, and he was quite proud of it. Quite happy with the name Peanut. So, usually that's not a normal name, but it doesn't matter because it's a name in this world which is relative. It's just an identity, maybe. People can identify, they can call us by the name, and so on. So, because we're people, we're not just stones, we're not just bodies, we're individual, and we have relationships. We want relationships. We want to have loving relationships in this world, naturally. It's coming from within. We want to love, we want to be happy, isn't it? We want to be calm, peaceful, we want unity. There's something within everyone that wants that, it's just maybe we don't know how to find it. We get caught up by our karmas and our conditionings and pushed by our driving lust and senses and so on. But inside there's this desire, they want to be really, feel completely at home wherever you are, but that comes from the spiritual platform. So ultimately yoga is to help us to come to that spiritual perspective. It's not just an imposition, it has to be a realization. It has to be something which we ourselves realize. And theoretically it can help also. It's just like, you may theoretically know the law in a country, you may not like it, but you follow it because you have some theoretical knowledge. It's not very comfortable, but you do anyway. So if we have the desire to, go a little further in our lives, then we may adopt certain practices, just like we're adopting some of you, yoga, hatha yoga, you may have different reasons. I'm not going to get into the details now for doing that, but you have some purpose for doing it. It may be health reasons, it may be deeper reasons, it may be whatever the reason is, but some reason is there, and then we desire to do it, and that's what sustains our continual efforts. So the desire, if we have a desire to actually realize or understand our actual nature as spiritual entities from whom consciousness, feelings, and love being, you could say, the vital force there, like the thread behind everything, although that may be perverted in this world in different ways, but it has its pure source, and that's when the soul is purified of all these other identities, these other conditionings, then that love can start to flow in a much, let's say, unimpeded way, no matter what the response from the object of love, or whatever you call it in this world is, that doesn't get impeded. It's a perpetual flow because it's a nature of the soul. As the sun never stops shining, we may turn our back on the sun, we may hide from the sun, we may be in the night, whatever it may be, but the sun continues to shine. It doesn't depend on us. And so soul similarly is just this, the soul's nature is reflected in this world through the various modes of nature, which we are presently identified with and influenced by. So we get a little bit of that, but we don't get very little of the actual full nature of the soul is manifest right now. The soul, we're the witness of what we're seeing in this world. It's like in a dream. You're watching the dream. You're not actually that which you're watching. You're the seer, and we're affected by the scene. You know what I mean? We're affected by it because we identify with it. So yoga is to help us to see ourselves apart from that which we're seeing also, not just to improve what we're seeing. Many people, they think that yoga is just to improve the scene, but it's actually to help the seer become free from identifying with the scene. And then you're no longer affected by the scene, but you can still react or relate with the scene in a way which is totally unaffected by that which is seen. But whatever goes on in this world, the soul, you've heard probably Jesus said, we're in this world but not of it. We're not really of this world. We're in it, so to speak, just like you're in a cinema, but you're not actually of the cinema. And when you're in there, you're watching it and you're just totally, if any of you remember that, maybe you don't go anymore, but perhaps nowadays you probably watch it on some other form of technology. But when I was a kid, the monthly treat was to go to the cinema once a month, you know, and watch some movie or whatever it was. We didn't have TVs in those days. And it was like a big thing, and you're completely identifying with it, you know, or whether it was later than the midnight movie came on, you know. It's like, ooh, those of nervous disposition are warned. The next program, maybe you should not watch it or something or another. You see people now. The girls are all screaming and crying, and the boys are laughing, and it's like, you know, different people identify with the same thing very differently, you know. Nothing to do with the thing. The soul is the same, just you've got a different subtle and gross conditioning, which interpret it differently. And because we are identifying with it, you know, we think this is me, and that's what I'm mine, or that I identify with, we get affected by it. But when we realize our real self, you're not affected. It doesn't mean you're careless. You actually awakens genuine compassion, not just limited compassion for the physical body, the mental state of others, of humans or animals, but absolute compassion. One who has spiritualization is absolutely compassionate. He's concerned for everything and everybody. Because he knows by nature we all have the same, everyone has the same quality, and we all have the same opportunity, but we may be not taking it. So out of compassion, like, you know, even materially speaking, if you're compassionate, you don't like to see other people suffer. You don't like to see anything suffer, even an ant, materially. So that goes way beyond that. Everything in this material world is simply, you could say, covered by what's called Maya, the illusory potency of the Supreme Person, due to our desire. Our desire is there that we want to experience life in this kind of individual separateness, seeing ourselves in the center. Spiritual life means to connect ourselves with the center. And that's where actually harmony and happiness comes. We could give an example. It's like even in an orchestra, when everyone's playing in tune with the conductor, everything's harmonious. When everyone's playing on their own, blowing their own trumpet, then you get a cacophonous noise. If I throw one stone into the lake, you get only one set of circles. We're all different, but all united. If I throw 100 stones in there, you get 100 set of circles. It's all clashing. So in the material world, where we're seeing ourselves in the center, you get this constant clashing of it, you know, interest. One trying to influence another, trying to, you know, control others by our various, whatever it is. Okay, well, the process which we adopt, as you know, you've just been doing it, is this chanting of Hare Krishna, and there are many other things to it. That's just one, that's the primary one. There are many other methods of bringing that unity or bringing that realization into our lives. But the chanting is the primary one, especially in this age where you can do it anywhere. You've seen us probably on the streets of Sydney, on the streets of wherever you're from, maybe Melbourne or wherever it is, dancing and singing on the street. It's a very spontaneous, joyful thing for many, and it's very wonderful. I was just reading about our movement when it first came to Australia. In 1970, one person came alone to Australia in 1970. I think, what year month was it? April or May? Yeah, February 1970. One young American boy, follower of our teacher, came to Australia on his own, and he started Hare Krishna right here in Sydney. Right here in Sydney. I don't know where he first went. Let's say here. 3 days and I don't know where he stayed. Somewhere. And they told him you should go to King's Cross, but that's not far from here. People were telling him you should go to King's Cross. That was kind of like the happening place in Sydney in those days, King's Cross. It's got maybe a different, slightly different profile now, but it was the young happening place there at the King's Cross. So he went there, and then he gradually started. The movement started from there, 1970 in February, quite a few years ago. One person, amazing how he just started. He was a young member of the movement. So, and just chanted on the streets, gave it a few magazines, chanted on the streets, and this way everything developed. So I started, as I mentioned briefly, I started in 1971 this particular connection with this Hare Krishna yoga, whatever you want to call it, movement. In 1971 in London, and since then I've been a member of this movement, Hare Krishna movement. I guess Harry Ball, that's about it. So any questions? I'm still hanging in there. Any questions? I heard you were full of questions. Yes, I don't know anyone's names hardly. What is your good name?
What?
First,
Me?
Nan was there, yeah. I think, were you first or were you first? You're going to fight over it? No, hope not.
You choose.
Should be peaceful enough right now. Who wants to shoot first?
I'll go first. My
Okay.
name's Annabelle. Hi.
Janabel?
Annabelle.
Annabelle, I heard Janabel.
Can you call me anything?
Maybe I'm just hearing. See the names, all the names, God has, Supreme Person has names. They describe His beautiful qualities. And Janabel is the name of the female consort of the Absolute. Beautiful name. Yes, Janabel. Janabel.
I'm just wondering if you could shed a bit more light on why this chanting, this congregational chanting, is the recommended method.
For this, at this time, yeah. Well, it is a beautiful question or comment, and it's very interesting because, you know, in spiritual, any walk of life really, you don't have to completely kind of like grovel in the dark or just speculate. There are guides and guidances are there. Usually when you go on a journey, for instance, we came here from Sydney, not far away. But even to get here, our driver had to use one of these, what do you call it, GPS? Is that what you call it here? Yeah. GPS. We may still be driving around somewhere. We may be in Chatsworth by now, or who knows where we'll be. But, he used a GPS, some kind of guidance system. Similarly, on the spiritual path, just like you're coming here, and you're getting some of your students, some of your teachers, I think. We learn from somebody certain techniques at least, don't we? Which help us to understand or apply ourselves. So certainly on the spiritual path, they're there. And it doesn't matter whether it's verbal or whether it's literature. In this day and age, usually people can't remember very well. You need reference points usually. Books and so many things are there to, give us that guidance more than we hear once. Usually we can't remember very well. Previously, sometimes people say that in previous age they were not very civilized. They didn't have books. They didn't need books. Books and writing are only there because people can't remember anymore. We're not so intelligent now to remember things. Previously, they could remember at least according to ancient Indian history, people could remember just by hearing once or twice. They didn't have to keep hearing it over and over and still forget it. But they could remember. They were much sharper in intelligence. But now we generally have to write things down. So in this age which we're in, we find that there's so much written information on yoga, on spirituality, on every subject, every aspect of life, and whatever it is. And this is perhaps one of the most famous of the, let's say, condensed guidebooks of spirituality and how to come to the spiritual platform, the Bhagavad Gita as it is. And there are many translations, but the wonderful thing is that it's one written by our teacher, and that's really because he puts it in a practical way, not just a philosophical way or a speculative way, a way which we can actually apply the guidances given by Krishna in a wonderful way and apply it in our lives. Millions and millions of people have applied it and found so much effect in their life. Now, back to the chanting, the same principle is there. These scriptures give us guidance when in different times, different places, different circumstances, different practices will be more effective for different people in different conditions. We're all differently conditioned. Now, we're all generally conditioned by the effects of this age, which is called Kali Yuga. Kali Yuga, Yuga means age, Kali means literally quarrel. It has many other meanings too. It means materialistic age, hypocritical age, age of Iron Age, all sorts of things where people become very materialistic in general. And most of the goal of life is material achievement in most cases, and it's not easy to turn around the other way and look towards the spiritual goals of life. But anyway, the teachings, the ancient teachings, there's many of them. This is just you could say, a condensed version of the philosophical aspect. It doesn't go into all the details like that. But in the Puranas, one ancient historical reference literatures, the Vedas, the Vedanta Sutra, the Mahabharata, the Ramayana, there are so many Itihasas, Upanishads, Brahmanas, and so many Samhitas, and Tantras, and so many literatures are there giving various advice according to different time, circumstance, both age-wise, both even gender-wise, even everything, you name it, according to our nature. Different guidelines are there which will be appropriate for us to apply for our benefit, materially and spiritually. But the general thing for Kali Yuga is recommended, Harinama, Harinama, Harinama Eva Kevalam. It's said in this age that chanting, although in other ages meditation, austerities, sacrificial activities were very prominent. Very prominent. They're also there in this age, but they're not so effective. They may be for some, but in general, and even if they are effective, still it's recommended that one also engage in this congregational chanting. It immediately creates a purifying environment for everybody. The sound vibration penetrates through the ether, and it has an effect, a deep effect on our consciousness. If you just meditate, that you may be able to do, but it's very hard to keep the mind focused for a long period of time, and then focused on what is another question, of course. But there are just so many distractions in this age. In the 6th chapter of this book, Arjuna, Krishna speaking to his devotee, Arjuna, his friend and devotee, and talking about Ashtanga Yoga, Hatha Yoga, Jnana Yoga, different yogas, advising them to Arjuna. Arjuna said, it's very difficult to control the mind the way you were saying. It's very restless. The world around us is very restless. As soon as you go out of this room, more than likely you'll go onto the street and all sorts of things are going on. There's many distractions are there in this day and age that we live in. But this loud chanting of the holy name, even if the mind wanders, the sound vibration continues, and it continues to have a beneficial, purifying effect on our consciousness. Be it lesser or greater, but it continues, and it purifies the environment around us. For other persons who may not be interested at all on the spiritual path, at least at this point of time, they also get the benefit of the sound vibration. Even animals, birds, trees, plants, everything that comes in contact, even the non-moving and the inanimate objects, everything is benefited by that sound vibration. So it's all pervasively beneficial for this age. And it can be sung individually, it can be congregational. When we chant congregation, of course, it's much more powerful, more focused on that sound. You get absorbed in the singing. You can dance also. You can engage your whole being in relationship to this chanting. It's very simple and very, very joyful. And that's another aspect to it. It is a very joyful process. It's not like something you just have to kind of like hold yourself. Don't smile. No expression. Just be free. You just chat and let what happens happen. You don't have to be artificial about it. It becomes spontaneous, you could say. It's beneficial for all. It's very easy to practice. Even a child can practice. Even animals can take part. I've seen so many animals taking part in this process. Probably due to my madness, I even heard, perhaps I'm mad, but I honestly feel, and my experience was this dog was actually saying Rama, Rama. Literally sounded like it. It was in a very special place in Vrindavan, so that may be very possible. But I've seen so many things. I remember one time when I was in that place. Vrindavan is the holy place in India where it said that Krishna appeared when he came on this planet. Very special place. Maybe some of you have been or may like to go in the future. Very worth going to. I remember one time I was there a long time ago, many decades ago. I was staying in that very room where our spiritual master stayed before he ever came to the West. I was staying in that room some years later, looking after the rooms. And one night, in the night, there was an old wooden door with a chain lock. It was all kind of lopsided, stone floor, stone room. There was a knock, knock, knock. The microphone's not working. There isn't making noise. What can I knock on? Wood. That didn't work very well either. Anyway, you get the floor. Oh, there we go. Knock, knock, knock. On the door, I thought, my God, who's knocking at this time of night? Everyone's gone to the temple was locked. It wasn't a hard temple, it was one of the local temples in Vrindavan. The door was locked, no one was around. I thought, my goodness, what is this? My first night there, I was getting a bit, got a bit, how it is. I was the only one around, there's no one else there. I kind of peered through the gap, I couldn't see anything. I slowly took the chain off, opened the door. There was a dog staring at me. As soon as he saw me, he went straight out. You may have seen sometimes these crazy Hare Krishnas, when they meet each other, they go on the floor, they lie down on the floor for a while, and then they get up again. They do some exercises and get up. This dog went down on its paws, 4 paws like that. And then it got up and looked at me and kind of like, I didn't know what am I supposed to do? There's a dog. So then I thought, well, maybe I got some, we call it prasad, and that's the food, the vegetarian food which you could say purifies, spiritualize, we offer it to Krishna. So I thought maybe he wants something to eat. So I went and I saw there was still something left from what I'd offered to my teacher, Srila Prabhupada, and I went there with that and gave it to him. And that's what he wanted. That's all he wanted, he just wanted that food. And every night he would come at the same time at 10 o'clock at night after everything's quiet for the leftovers of that wonderful food stuff. So, very special dog, no doubt about that. And we've seen so many animals. And I could go on. I've got one book, Animals in Krishna Consciousness. Kind of interesting little book about different animals I've met in my life that have, just come forward on their own account and just embraced this process of yoga in their own way, in amazing, absolutely amazing ways sometimes. We can just see it goes beyond the norms of, let's say, material conditioning. It goes way beyond it. It takes us beyond it. It helps us to get free of envy if we sit together. That's another unique thing, Envy is kind of ongoing thing. We're jealous of others. We want something that someone else has got. We're not satisfied with our lot and so on. The chanting, when we come together and chant together, it helps us to become free of that envy. Very powerful effect. At least while we're chanting anyway. And it brings that kind of unity. We see that many times, all the time, not many times, all the time when we're out chanting together, that people from all different conditions, Muslims, Jews, Christians, atheists. We were in St. Kilda the other day. We were in this one shop, and there's this man there in the bar. He was maybe owner, I don't know. He was a well-dressed guy, maybe in his 60s or something. He was jumping around like this, And then one of our devotees came by and grabbed his arm and pulled him in. No, I'm an atheist. I don't religion. No, but he said, repeat after me, Hare Krishna. I don't know about this. And after a few minutes, he went, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. He went away there. And he was smiling and laughing like anything. And big groups of Muslims coming and joining in, dancing with us, all kinds of different people. It goes beyond all these temporary barriers, Anyone can take part. Other things like yoga, meditation. Most people, it's just out of their range. They're just too unsettled. So there's chant, and when you do that, when you give something to others, then it has a multiple beneficial effect. You get multiple returns. By sharing what you've got with others, you get so much benefit from doing that. Don't be miserly. We want to share whatever we've got with as many as we can. So this is a great way of sharing and embracing everybody. as our brothers, sisters, and all living entities, animals. I was in Brighton a few years ago in England, not in Melbourne, and in England is a holiday resort. There are lots of people there, and we're chanting on one side of the street, in this very busy night street, and on the other side people walk in, and there was one, I don't know what they call it now, they used to be called rockers, Hell's Angels, rockers, whatever. They have chains and leather jackets, and they drive big motorbikes and things, you know. The guy was on the other side, a big guy, looked pretty macho. He had his coat and leather jacket with chains everywhere, and big boots and things, you know. And he had a dog, one of these really heavy dogs, what they call those things that bite your head off if you give them a chance. They got mouths like bigger than your head, you know. Big sharp teeth. Yeah, one of those guys, you know, they're not very tall, but they got these huge mouths. And he's like, he's got a chain, you know, he's like this going over the road towards us, you know. He's, the guy's holding on the chain, looking at us, you know, and the dog. And the dog's got leather jacket and chains on us. And all of a sudden he lets go of the chain. Oh my God, the thing came pounding across the road, straight towards us, you know. And it came bang straight in the middle of us. Straight in the middle. And, you know, to a great surprise, the dog, far from becoming aggressive, started to jump up and down with us as we were chanting, barking away. As we jumped, it also jumped, barking its head off, and the guy was laughing his head off beside the road. Even that dog became, you know, somehow or another, he got captured by the holy name. He couldn't maybe chant our voice, but in his own way he was taking part. Everyone takes part. We want everyone to take part, and it works. It works. It's a special thing. And individually, the more we apply it, naturally, the more the effect can be experienced. And yes, what's your good name?
Tatiana.
Pardon?
Tatiana.
Sachina?
Tatiana.
Satyana? Satyana. Everyone's got spiritual names here. Well, you've been initiating everybody here. Who's the guy in charge?
You don't mind to be initiated straight away.
Pardon?
Actually, I want to just ask a continued question about this. Like you said in the first sentence about holy name as well. So when you're chanting, you said it's good to go deeper if you allow. Yeah, you said. What does it mean if you allow?
Allow. Well, of course it will anyway, but it might be a bit slower. You know, it's like if you allow if somebody wants to get in, and you don't allow them, they might still find their way in, but it might be a bit more roundabout way. But if you allow them to come in, they get in real easy. You just open the door and in they come. You know? So, because we got so many other thoughts on our minds, so many other impressions, so many other objectives. Now there's two things here. One is, while we're chanting, we could say, you know, if we can put aside, and of course these thoughts in the mind keep floating in and floating out. That's the way that the desires and the impressions we have from our previous experiences come and go in the subconsciousness of the subconscious platform of the subtle body. They keep coming in like rivers into the ocean. But if we can try to just put that aside and just try to focus as much as we can, that is meditation, no doubt, but as much as we can on the sound vibration is one thing. And another thing is, of course, is the motive which we have for it. It's like if you allow somebody in, but if you have an exploitative motive, they won't feel like staying. You know, so if we have an exploitative motive, and we want to utilize them for our selfish purposes, that will also not have such a beneficial effect. They won't go so. They won't continue to want to come and continue to share, or in the case of the holy name, purify, relate with, etc. So we try to understand that these motives can be also. We all have motives, most likely, and that's one of the reasons we don't experience such a deepening of that relationship, because we're still thinking of getting. It's like in love. If you love somebody, you know. You may have a conditional relationship, but it's not so effective as an unconditional relationship. You know, I love you as long as you give me so much money a week. That's not really love at all, that's business. But that sometimes comes in as long as you satisfy my sex desire, as long as you give me this or give me that, you know, and otherwise I'm off. You know. But love is actually unconditional. So the more we're conditional, you can say, in our relationship, the holy name, the less, well, let's say the less, it just take more time. It won't go so deep so quick. The more we can come to that unconditional stage of just wanting to, let's say, love Krishna, or just allow the holy, just develop that unmotivated, uninterrupted relationship, we could say, with the holy name. Not with any condition. I want to get freed of karma. I want to be, you know, I want this and that. I want to be happy, peaceful. Those things will be there in the beginning, but they're only, you know, they're only stepping stones. So they'll be there in the beginning, but the more we become free of any motivation, we just channel them, because we're realizing this is this is the real business of the soul, to be absorbed in the association of the Absolute, or the Supreme Person, through sound vibration. Then the more we'll actually experience that, and the more that realization will come. But at every stage there's a realization, but it'll be mixed realizations at different stages. So the one thing is, the more, first is trying to put other things aside. Yeah, we got other things in life, that's for sure, we have to deal with those. But like when we're chanting, we try to put them to the side for some time at least, and try to just hear the sound, and at the same time try to cultivate a more of a selfless relationship with the mantra, so that the relationship becomes more and more reciprocal. Because you know, in any relationship, the more you're selfless, the other person feels, they can feel it. They can feel it. You're not just, you know, doing something to get something out of me, you know. They really love you, and they really want only your welfare. They only want to see you happy, to please you, and at any cost, you know, they won't be interfered with like that. So you can't start on that level, but like that. So the more we come to that, letting it in, at the beginning at least, we can try as best we can to try to be as attentive as we can, try to hear, and it does help when we're with others, when there's a communal group together, and we have such beautiful kirtan or chanting as you had earlier on there with Monique and others. And I was watching from the back, I was really inspired to see you all taking part and sitting so appropriately, actually. Because you're practicing yoga, you know the benefits of sitting with the back straight and not fiddling around for every 2 seconds, etc. Because I could see you were going deeper and deeper into the sound vibration. It's just a matter of application, because we do it every day. Some do it all day long, practically speaking. We have other things to do, whatever in our lives, but like that, and it can be done anywhere, even if you can't sit like this, even if you're not with others. When I was working, before I moved into the ashram, I was working in a factory temporarily. I was a cleaner boy in a factory temporarily, and I would just sing all the time, and I felt really happy, just in the dirty, noisy factory, just sweeping up all the rubbish off the floor. I was as happy as anything. Just singing. When I go hitchhiking, I just sing the whole way. People pick me up or not, it made no difference. Just keep singing. Like that. You can do anywhere. And then it's like that. Again, well, see, one thing is, after we start chanting, after a while, sometimes you find that certain thoughts start coming up in your heart. When you do it for a little while, you don't usually get that, but when you go further, you find all kinds, because they're deeper down in our consciousness, deep down in the subtle heart, you could say, or the subtle mind. There are all kinds of attachments to different things, different types of identities, different false ego, we call it ahankara, false ego, manifest in this material world in different forms of attachment or identifications, different desires and vittis and samskaras, they call different things in this world, come up. And, you just, then you really have to go a little deeper, because they'll just keep popping up. Otherwise, it's like you mow a lawn. Some of you have done that, maybe some of you still do it. You mow your lawn, and at least in the summer particularly, a week later, it looks like you haven't done anything. Maybe even longer than it was a week ago. You have to, why, damn it, I mowed it a little week ago, what's going on around here? Because the root's still in the ground. If you mow on the lawn, you've got to get the roots out. You've got to get the seed root, everything out. So we don't do that with the lawn, but I mean with our heart. Yes, you have to get out these roots of, let's say, ignorance, passion, and so on in this material world, so that the heart becomes purified. Otherwise, as long as these self-centered or materialistic motivations, these egotistic motivations are there, it's just a matter of time. They'll pop their face up again sooner or later. Don't get worried. It's a cool, wonderful thing. It's fun. Another opportunity. We take it as an opportunity to go forward. Not, oh God, I'm getting out of here. This is too much, you know. But an opportunity. For us, it's an opportunity. You may not feel it's the same direction at this point, but an opportunity. We just simply know that ultimately everything is the energy of the Supreme Person. We just try to take shelter of the Supreme Person. You can do what you like. You want to keep me covered by this energy, as you may do so, but I just try to take shelter of you, chant your name, and just try to remember you, or whatever it may be. And try to see things in relationship with the Supreme. Anything else on that, or anything else? Yes, what's your good name?
Rhonda.
Rohini?
Good. Thank
I can't hear very well, you know.
Rohini's lovely, thank you. Chanting and not wanting anything from the chanting. What about love?
Yes.
I'm really aware I do this because I feel love and I love feeling love, and I have a desire to feel
Yes,
love.
yes.
Should I not want that desire
No,
either?
no. It's a matter of purifying everything.
Even wanting love.
Well, there's love, and there's pure love, and there's purest love, and it gets purer and purer. So love is I think we mentioned sometime during our gas off there that love is one of the characteristics of the very soul itself. It doesn't come from a material combination. It's because it's the nature of the soul to love and be loved. It's just natural. So the nature of the Anandamaya Vyasat, the nature of the soul, is pleasure seeking, and love. Love is the essence of that. It's the innate prema, is the essence of the spiritual realm. Yes, we want love. Thank you for bringing it up. But the ultimate love, not the material, reflective love. That will be there in the beginning, and it will be degrees of that. And it will expand more and more and more and more. So your goal to have ultimate love is a necessary desire, but it's not considered a material, selfish, motivated desire exactly. It is actually the nature of the soul. It's your very nature itself. It's the nature of life to love. And everything exists ultimately for that purpose, to awaken that spirit in its pure form. And the chanting is there. In the beginning it may be a little mixed. It may be mixed with some material concept of love. And that's not necessarily bad. It just has to be, let's say, like a child learning, growing up through education. You go through stage by stage. The goal is not just to learn 2 and 2 equals 4, but it's certainly part of education. It all remains a part of education. It's not the ultimate goal of that education, but it's a significant part. So the very desire to love is a stepping, even materially, is a stepping stone. It's a stage. And even without spirituality, that desire to see the welfare of others, to work for others' welfare, is also a stepping stone. It's a stage. It's not the goal, but it is a stage towards the goal. And after some time, it's influenced by what's called the mode of sattva gun, or goodness, in this material world. And that will bring one the opportunity to associate or to connect more with the spiritual, the Shuddha Sattva, the transcendental goodness. And if one wishes to go down there, it's a much more favorable platform to progress spiritually. So it doesn't matter whatever situation, when everyone can everyone's got the eligibility, but it's a more favorable soil to cultivate spirituality. When we have that mood of wanting to see others happy, we want to share with others, we want to help others in distress, we want to love others in a whatever way, not necessarily, not sexually of course, but just as people, we want them to be, we just think of their welfare. And it becomes deeper and deeper and deeper as we go along. So that particular, although the details may still be materialistic, the principle behind it is a constitutional principle. To love, to give, to serve, these are constitutional principles which are never to be given up. In Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, acts of charity, welfare, sacrifice should never be given up, even those who are on the most elevated platform. It just, you can say that the detailed finding or the nature of how that's given may vary. because of, we're just becoming more mature on the spiritual path, that's all. They may give it in different ways. Or they may adopt the normal day-to-day way, like sometimes great realized souls just use our day-to-day way of, let's say, helping others because that's all people can digest. And only then will they take a little bit of interest, as Jesus Christ used that most of the time, in fact. He hardly brought the spirituality into his teaching at all, very little. Because he himself said, there are many things I have to tell you, what to speak of the spiritual world. You can't even follow what I'm telling you of this world, so how can I tell you more? So he was working step by step, elementary stages of spirituality. So you have to use a little common sense. Those who have that realization can understand that. We may not understand it. So we encourage people, whatever stage they're on, when there's something goodness is there, to not to give up that goodness, but rather to add spirituality to your already existing desire to see goodness in this world, to see to the welfare of others, to bring, think good for others, etc. Don't ever give that up. That may be a mixed desire, and I accept myself, I have mixed desires. And we don't say that we have absolutely unmotivated, pure, but we work towards that. Because then more and more we are on that platform of motivated, then the more and more your concern, paradukkha, the only suffering for a self-realized person is that others are still in ignorance. The cause of suffering is not just physical ailments or economic distress or wars or whatever it may be in this world, disease, mental distress, etc. Those are effects, they're not causes. They're effects. We have to get to the cause. We have to root out from the root, not from the surface. Most of modern methodology doesn't go much below the surface. It just deals mostly with the effects, a little bit of cause, but not so much. When you go to the ancient traditions, you find them going more to the cause. Especially in India, and I would imagine in other cultures too. I haven't investigated so much. But especially in India, we see that Ayurveda, if you've ever heard of Ayurveda, it deals more with the causes rather than the effects. It's a subtle thing. And if we go even deeper, the cause is ignorance, of identification. So the more we understand our real identification, then the problems everything becomes in perspective. The whole perspective change, everything becomes in a different perspective. Things are seen in a much more unified or, just in a clearer perspective. And one's no longer engaged in activities which will cause future births and deaths, which will cause future karmas, etc., etc. But even if we are doing good for others in this world, which is not to be discouraged, but if it's simply material, it creates karma. Good or bad, it still creates reaction, and it means birth and death in this world, or continuation of material consciousness, you see. So, and that's the root problem, this identification with oneself as the material body or the material world, and that, this is ours, mine, this, that, the other, and all the problems stem from that basic ignorance. So knowledge, real knowledge, not just physical knowledge of the phenomena, just analysing the surface of the effects, is not the solution, but to find out what is the actual cause and how to actually deal with that. Knowledge which removes the ignorance of our identity, ignorance of existence, ignorance of karma, ignorance of everything, ignorance of the Supreme Person, ignorance of our relation with Him, ignorance of our whatever, everything, why I'm where I am, and so on. Why someone is born here, why someone's born there, why someone is suffering, they seem to be a good guy, they seem to be a bad guy, they seem to be happy. Why are these things going on? Are a mystery to many people. They're ignorance and causes disturbance. So rising above that, and if you rise above the storm, you're not affected by it. You can still see it's a storm, you may be to help people get out of it, but you're not affected by it. To rise above the storm is the solution. Thank you. Hare Krishna. Anything else? I don't know our time. Where's that clock? The clock says it's 7:30. Is it correct? Yes. In Brisbane. What's the time in Brisbane? Huh? 6:30. It's still 6:30 in Brisbane. We're not in Sydney. We're in the spiritual world.
Western Australia, it's 3 hours behind.
Pardon?
Western Australia is 3 hours.
3 hours behind. We're in Perth, okay? We're going even further. We're in London. What are they? 10 hours behind. That's another wonderful thing. We have to work with time, of course. We all have our schedules. But ultimately, it's timeless. Life is timeless. And with little understanding, you don't have to fret and worry, oh God, I'm too late, and do this or that. Time is timeless. Just try to not waste your time. And don't get afraid of the passing of time, old age, disease, death, all these things may come to the body. The mind changes and so on, no doubt about that. But we are the same conscious living entity, just experiencing changes on the subtle and gross bodies all the time, of course. Because we identify with them, we think we're young and old and this and that. But basically we're the same person, just consciousness is affected by association. So, but try to understand, we carry on no matter what. So whatever little progress we make in this life never ends. It's not lost. Krishna assures us of that in the Bhagavad Gita. Neha bhikamo nashasti puttivayo nivijate. There's no loss on this path. Even a small amount of advancement can save you from when the whirlpool of birth and death. You at least go forward in your life, your spiritual lives. In the next life you get a better opportunity. And even in this life, okay, we don't believe in all that stuff. And I can understand why you may not believe in it. But even if you don't, even in this lifetime, I see that those who are practicing spirituality as they get older, they're actually becoming more happier. Who cares? The body is getting older. Prabhupada teacher said, old age for no person does not bring happiness and freedom from anxiety and fear. In most cases it increases. But for one who's on the spiritual path, you become happier as you get older and you become more fearless. So even if you don't believe in all that, you want a happiness. In old age, one person just telling me today that their friend just retired. Somebody just retired. They thought, now we're going to have a nice time. As soon as they retired, they just felt completely sick and life's just miserable. They work till they're 68 or something, work a little bit longer, get a bit more money, and they can do nothing with it. They're just on their bed all the time with pipes and this and that. So do it now, you try now, but don't worry. And in old age also, the body will get old, the body will get sick, maybe. But I was with a lady just now, Prema, in Byron Bay. She's 82 years old. She's been doing yoga all her life. She's doing Bhakti yoga now as well as Kundalini yoga, Hatha yoga. She's a yoga teacher, still a yoga teacher. She looks about 50. She's running this whole center up there. She's an amazing personality. You saw her Garanga, didn't you? Amazing personality. She's a doctor. You've got a whole temple room there. Krishna's pictures everywhere. She's chanting Hare Krishna as well. And she's a pretty happy person, I would say. And she's got a bit of money. She's not care less about it. She was in Sydney. She got a bit of money when she was in Sydney. Actually from her husband. And now she's single, and she's, So even if you don't believe in another lifetime, spirituality can bring peace in this lifetime, happiness in this lifetime, and even in old age you can still be, worth existing. You can be more than worth existing. You can still be sharing and giving to others for a better life, instead of being a burden on everybody.
Swami, can I ask you a question?
You can go on all night if you want, but I don't think our host may not agree with that. Yeah, I don't mind.
Oh, thanks. Oh, my name is Daniel. I am the one from Mexico.
Damodar?
Daniel. Yeah, just if you can help me understand a bit more about
Let me see what you look like.
transcendence and all that stuff.
You're from Mexico?
Yes, I'm the Mexican. It's wonderful.
And by the way, Mexico is seen as the best place so far on the planet for this congregational chanting. Did you know that? Italy is also really good. Lithuania is also fantastic. Russia is also brilliant. But Mexico is one, and Australia is brilliant. But Mexico is still top. Yeah. Where are you from? You're from Australia?
Australia.
Yeah.
Born here, but background is
Borneo?
Born here.
Born here. I go to Borneo. I don't think I go.
My cultural background is Ugandan.
Uganda.
Yeah.
Uganda. Let me tell you a story. I'll come back to you in a minute. I was in Uganda in 1979. 1979. This is one of the most amazing stories of my life. It really made a big difference to me. Uganda is really important in my life. I can't even remember the name of the town. It's about 100 and something miles out of Kampala, northwest of Kampala, somewhere up towards the Congo side, I suppose. Northwest of Kampala.
Yeah, oh, well, I feel like Kenya's on this side.
Congo, not Kenya, towards Congo.
So Congo would be central.
Yeah, northwest towards the Congo.
Yeah.
No geography. I know the geography of Uganda quite well. I can't remember all the names. I can remember Tororo and Pepe and that's about 2 other places. I got arrested in Tororo as soon as I arrived. I got arrested in Kampala as soon as I got there. I went to this other town with this one Uganda. It's 1979. You remember the name Idi Amin?
The only thing people say to me when I say I'm from Uganda. Yes, I do.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I know more about Uganda. Don't worry, I don't know that. He was famous now. So he'd just been chased out by the Tanzanian army. 1979, was it 1980? End of 79 or early 80, I can't remember. About that time. And he'd just been chased out. So we went straight in there. We had some contacts. So we went straight in. I was living in Kenya. So we went straight in there. Our idea was we had some contacts. We were going to see people. You know, the only people we generally saw were the police and the jailhouses when we were there. So I got to this other town, and which was where this one main contact was. They said they had some land. They wanted to give it to us for Hare Krishna usage. I never saw the land. What I did see was at the town centre. I went into the town centre the first morning, and I had a bunch of Rudi Kwamungu. You know what that means? Rudi Kwamungu. Back to Godhead. Rudi Kwamungu.
Is that Swahili?
Swahili, yeah. Rudi Kwamungu. And Penny Mojo. Give a penny, 10 cents. So we were selling these magazines in this town. And it all went boom in no time. And that day, there was an eclipse of the sun. I didn't know it. In the middle of the day, suddenly everything went like purple. A full eclipse of the sun. It was an incredible experience. I didn't know what was going on. This is a weird place. The sun is setting at midday. Everything went purple. It was really eerie. And all the people were moving around and stuff. That was the end of my interaction with them. And they were looking up at the sun through lenses and things. It was a full eclipse of the sun right over that place in Uganda. I never experienced that before. Anyway, later that day, I got this terrible fever. I had to walk back to a little hut just outside the town which we were staying in, a little mud hut, staying with this black family. And I had this fever. I never had a fever like that. I thought I was going to die. And then shortly after that, suddenly, bang, bang. I heard this bang, bang. Somebody was banging next door. And the guy I was staying was getting beaten up by these Tanzanian army officials. And they burst into my room and told me, "Get up!" The boss spoke a little English, not much. "Get up! Passport!" It was kind of a fever. And I got up, kind of forgot your fever for that one. I tell you really forgot the fever. I got up, big guy with a machine gun stood right in front of me. And I got up, gave him my passport. He said, "Forgery!" Stuck it in his pocket. "Money!" "Black market!" Stuck it in his pocket. And it stormed out. And I was just lying there. Half delirious. It was like incredible. I couldn't move. And then the next day, they came back in force, truckloads. The whole village ran for their lives. Everyone just ran into the jungle. And it was just me and this other guy left. And they just, "Get up! Out! Into this truck." They had to clamber into this army truck, into the back, and sat there with a bunch of Tanzanian army guys looking at me with their machine guns, Off we went this evening, twilight. We drove off into the jungle, and I was asking the guy with me, "What's happening here?" They said, "They're taking us to the shooting range." Off to the shooting range. And I'm chanting, "Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna." I completely forgot the fever, it just went away. I mean, really, if you need a cure, if you have a really severe fever, this is one good cure. Completely forgot it. It was like, really, I just completely disappeared altogether. It was unbelievable. And I was just chanting the name of one of our forms of Krishna named Nishinga Deva. You may have heard the name. He's a little gentle pussycat. Where is he? Anyway, the form protects our consciousness. We're not asking protect me from the firing range. Just protect my consciousness. I don't get, disturbed by all this. There's nothing I can do about it. If you want to do something, you can do it. I can't do that. It's all over. It's all over. An amazing experience. I just concluded it's all over. It's finished. You know, there's nothing to worry about anymore. There's nothing you can do about it. Why worry? I was just chanting Hare Krishna and I felt really good. I was trying to feel in the middle of the jungle with nobody. I mean, even the guy I was with wasn't really interested at all. He just happened to be where I was staying. And all these army guys, none of them except for the boss could speak any English, and just a few words only. And we're going down this jungle past them. It's really dark by now. And it was a daily affair then, you know. It's just people were being shot left, right, and centre. And we got somewhere down the path, and then all of a sudden lights were coming the other way, and the truck stopped, and some guy was talking to the guy in the truck. I don't know what they're talking Swahili. Then they came to the back of the truck, and then he opened the back of the truck, he shone his torch at me, and they started talking something. I said, what's he talking about? He said he's the vice district, what do you call it, commissioner of this area, and he's telling him to take you back to the prison and put you in prison. So the next minute was the lorry was like moving around, and we're going back towards the town again. And so then we dumped us in the prison. We were stuck in the prison for 3 days until the commissioner came back from his hunting exhibition. We were stuck in this hell, unbelievable hell. I've never experienced anything like it in my life. The most hellish place I've ever seen in my life. The prisoners were, I remember there were 2 rooms. I was in the outer room, which wasn't so bad. The inner room was just a stool room, and these prisoners were stuck in the stool room. There was no toilet, no light, just a little hole in the ceiling, just up near the ceiling, and you couldn't see anything. And they were like groaning and groveling in there, and it stunk like any unbelievable place. You had to go there to pass urine. And prisoners were stuck there. I asked the guy next to me, one of them spoke English, and I said, how long have you been there? He said, I don't know, I think it's 8 or 9 years. I said, what are you here for? I said, I have no idea, no one's ever told me. I've never seen anyone I know in 8 or 9 years, he said. No one knows in here. No, all his prisoners were probably in the same boat. He said, they'll do this is what they'll do to you as well, he said. And then boom. When he said that, I thought, oh my God. Stuck here for 8 years. Why didn't they shoot me? You know, it was kind of not ignorance. Ignorance is the real pain when we don't know. It really is. That's the real pain when you have ignorance. Anyway, eventually the commissioner came back, and he was Oxford-educated black man from Uganda, and he said, hey, my God, he said, you're not an Arab spy, are you? Good grief, what are you doing here? He was talking kind of almost Oxford accent. Hunting gear on, everything short, typical English colonial dress. And he said, get out of here immediately. He got my passport back, believe it or not. That was it. He gave me enough money to get out, and put me in his jeep and sent me off back to Kampala. And I was out. But there was a lot more to it, a lot of experiences, of different emotional experiences, which really made me realize how much I was still sometimes on the bodily platform, sometimes not on the bodily platform. It was quite an experience. Quite an experience. Anyway, thank you, Uganda. Amazing place. It's one of the most beautiful places. The British consider it the most beautiful place in their colony, practically. The most beautiful country, incredibly beautiful. And opulent, like anything, in natural resource. Beautiful place. It is a paradise, without a doubt. Back to Mexico, and to Damodar from Mexico.
Thank you. It's just like help understanding more about in regards to death and birth.
Birth?
And death, as in death and birth. Well, specifically, when you leave this body, more than the fear of dying and leaving the physical body, the fear that I personally have the most is to forget, as in what I have learned here.
Yeah.
In the sort of subtle spiritual, and then to transcend and then forget where I just left. As in, So taking that knowledge with, say it's like, oh cool, I have learned this so much about in this lifetime that I would like to take with in order to, evolve.
Experience forward.
But I think it's karma that you need to engage in order to...
Isn't it? That can be a fear as well, especially those who have a little bit of awareness. People in general don't think maybe about that at all. They don't see anything more than what's going on now. But we see in this lifetime, we forget lots of things in this life, don't we? We forget a lot of stuff. I mean, good and bad. Many things are forgotten. But they have an interesting effect. They formulate your character. They formulate your general kind of relationship with the world around us in their own, without our knowing the details. They accumulate, and it's like many colours come together, and that particular colour may be not seen, but when they come together they form a particular colour. Like that, your character is being coloured by all the various experiences you're having in this lifetime. They develop to form a particular kind of general nature or general character, which is what you will have when you leave this body. So whatever you have done is not necessarily the detail that you can remember, but it's the, let's say, the effect of that detail, good or bad, which goes with us and carries us into another body. And the whole, just like in this lifetime, your character goes with you wherever you go. You may move from here to New Zealand, or to Fiji, or to India, or to England, or to America, or to Mexico, or anywhere in China, anywhere on the planet. But you are still basically the same person, or at least you were the person who left Australia. And you're now trying to adjust to a new circumstance, but your nature is still the same. And now in that new situation, it may adjust according to the new situation. So it's like that when we go into another body. Exactly whatever accumulative nature you've developed in this lifetime will be the type of form or the situation you find yourself in the next life. Now, from the karmic point of view, the materialistic point of view, yes, you basically have to start from ground level. However, whatever character you've got from the previous life is, you're going to be in a situation where that is going to be facilitated. You're going to be born in a certain situation. So sometimes people blame their parents, they blame the circumstances when we're young. Not to say we should take that into account, but it's not really the case. You're born in that situation because of your already existing tendencies, characteristics in the previous lifetime. And they're there already. So that particular family brings it out, whatever it may be, or the particular school, circumstance, environment, country, whatever it is, brings it out in that lifetime. So the karma works in that way. Now there's another factor. It's not just the workings of the modes of karma, or the modes of nature and karma, as the means of enacting the ongoing effects of the modes of nature, but there's also another factor involved, and that is there's the superseer, superknower. In Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Sarvasya chaham virishanivishto mataksmiti jnanam purnamcha. From him, there's like this super consciousness. Sometimes we feel it inside. There's like this conscience inside, reminding us of something. You don't do this, don't do that. This, you did it before, don't do it again. And we still do it, I mean, I know that when I was a kid. I used to go drinking when I was in first year in college, and we got into marijuana, LSD, and all those things. But first year we were drinking liquor, and every night I get drunk. I wasn't very good at holding the liquor. And then we go to an Indian or Chinese restaurant and have a nosh up, and I'd be vomiting every night. It's like you eat curry after, with a full stomach of liquor. They're not very compatible with each other. And I had false teeth. It was really awful. I'd been groveling in the vomit from my false teeth. What a horrible experience. I'm never going to do this again, but next night, your mates, let's go, come on, let's get out to a different pub tonight, let's go, different restaurant, the same thing, vomit, And then we went on and on like this until I eventually came up and stopped it. But every night I was saying, don't do it, but you do it, even you remember it. So the Lord in the heart is there, it's known as the Super Soul, Paramatma, who's reminding us that that's the other aspect of it. We can only say that in this lifetime we see that general process of evolvement of our nature according to circumstances, according to experiences, lessons learned, etc. takes place. And it's only logical to conclude that if we do carry on, the same principle will be in effect. And there's also the Paramatma in the heart, which is the main factor, though it may not be accepted by one and all, but according to scriptural references, according to those who are actually on the platform of actual spiritual platform, they understand that there's a super soul, super force there, reminding and facilitating and guiding all these different effects. So there's a removal. Now that fear will be removed in our hearts. Naturally, the more you approach light, the less the fear of darkness affects us. The more the sun rises, the less the fears of night are there. At night, all sorts of things may cause fear. this thing, that thing, when we're in the darkness. Even if we have some knowledge of light, without being in the light, we're still fearing. But the closer, or the more the sun rises, the dawn comes, then fears go away. Oh, I remember when I was hitchhiking in Austria, 60s sometime, I don't remember when it was, sometime in the 60s, I was petrified. Knew nothing about Hare Krishna at that time. And I was in a mountain somewhere alone, it was night, dark moon night, and it was in the middle of nowhere. So the guy dropped me off, I was hitchhiking in the middle of nowhere, I don't know where it was, I couldn't see, it was dark. And I just put my sleeping bag down, thought I was just asleep on the roadside, so no cars came by, it was a real country lane, real in the middle of nowhere, middle of the night. And so then there's this all night long, I couldn't sleep for a minute, you know, there was like this noise behind the fence, well I didn't know what it was, some noise nearby, I was too afraid to look. And I just lay there, sat there all night, kind of in my bag, kind of like, wondering what was going on. And eventually the sun came up and I thought, what's that noise? And I saw there was a fence there, I looked over the fence, there was a cow on the other side. But the ignorance made me fearful like anything. Just a cow like mooching around and, you know, knocking things about. When the closer you get to the sun, these fears will go away, don't worry. Don't worry, they'll go away. And don't worry, the point is that we don't know how to do it. We may be this, but when the time comes, don't worry, Krishna will give you that. He gives you that kind of like, you know, protection, realization, whatever you want to call it. Like when you get married, you think, how the God am I going to do this? How can I get married? You know, I'm going to live with a man or a woman, how am I going to manage? You know, but somehow there's some kind of like, it kind of comes together, or it falls apart, whichever the case may be. Something happens. You get kind of some kind of inspiration how to go about it, how to do something. You never did it before. You know, you learn from others, or you just learn something inside you which suddenly comes out. It will come out when that time comes. Don't worry. The ability to do it comes with the need to do it. It's not by chance. You're not alone in this universe. There's a universal kind of force acting as well. We're all part of it, so it has to look out. Just like you look, if anything's wrong with your finger, you'll look after it, right? Finger can't look after itself. Can't do it. You'll look after it. See, so we're all a part of the great, complete whole. So the whole will also look after you. You're part of that. Don't worry. You're not independent entirely. Hare Krishna. We better finish there. Hare Krishna. Yeah, well, I'm sorry, the food is finished now, it's over.
Maharaj, thank you very much for your wonderful
You don't have to repeat what I told you to say at the beginning. Let's be honest.
also for sharing with us your personal experience in life.
Why have you all turned blue? You've all gone blue. What's wrong with you? Probably your blood, I think.
That's the old parts and parcels of Krishna.
Blue. Hey, look at that, my goodness. Transcendental answer, you're all blue. Yeah, you're looking through your eyes, and your eyes are green, everyone's going to look green. My spectacles are green, you all look green. Because if we're looking through the world through our conditioned senses and mind, when we're judging. So when we get beyond that, then you can see things in a pure state, and not through this judgmental way. Hare Krishna, Shri Prabhupada.
So everyone, we're just about to serve some supper. If you need to use the bathroom, you actually do need a key to go in. And